Hello everyone and welcome back. In case you've forgotten who I am, my name is Lucas Wainwright, MYP, and I'm the member of UK Youth Parliament for County Durham. I am also one of the youth ambassadors to the Children's Commissioner for England, Dame Rachel de Souza. I'll be your host again for the second lesson of the series. In our last lesson, we talked about what politics actually means in everyday life, how decisions made nationally and locally affect the services we use, the rules we follow, and the opportunities we all have. We also looked at why getting involved matters, and why young people deserve just as much as a voice as an adult. So today, we're going to take those ideas further, and we'll look at how democracy works in practice. We'll explore elections, campaigning and debating, and you'll also have the chance to take part in a mini mock election and a short debate yourselves. By the end of the session, you'll understand not only how decisions are made in our country, but how you can influence them. Politics isn't just something distant that only happens in Westminster. It starts right here with you. Before we get into today's content, here's a short recap. Last time we explored how politics shapes everyday life, why participation matters, and how everyone, including young people, should have a say in the decisions that affect them. Building on that foundation, today we'll move on to the processes behind the decision making, from elections to debates, and the different ways young people can get involved. By the end of this lesson, you'll see how these parts of democracy connect, and how you can play an active role in them. Before we look at how votes are counted, it's important to understand how power works in the United Kingdom. Firstly, power in the UK is devolved, which means it is shared out rather than all controlled in one place. The UK has 3 devolved governments: Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. These governments can make decisions on certain issues that affect their own areas, such as education or health. In England, most power is run from Westminster, but local councils, such as county or district councils, also have devolved powers. This means they can make decisions locally. For example, how they spend money on schools, transport, or local services. A simple way to understand devolution is to think of Westminster as a parent. Parents are responsible for big things like safety and security. For example, deciding what time you must be home at night. But you also have devolved powers too, such as choosing what clothes you wear at the weekend. Power is shared, not taken away. Secondly, general elections usually take place every 5 years. During an election, people vote to choose their Member of Parliament or MP for their local area, called a constituency. Each candidate belongs to a larger political party, such as Labour or the Conservatives, although some stand as independents. To understand how our democracy functions, we need to start with how we choose people who represent us. In the UK, most major elections use a system called first past the post, often shortened to FPTP. Under FPTP, each voter chooses one candidate on the ballot paper. When the votes are counted, the candidate with the most votes wins, even if they haven't reached 50%. It's a very straightforward system, and it's the one we use in general elections to choose our members of parliament. But there are other voting systems used across the UK. For example, the Single Transferable Vote, or STV, which is used in Northern Ireland. Or the Additional Member System, or AMS, which is used for elections to the Scottish Parliament, the Senate in Wales, and the London Assembly. These systems give voters more choices and often lead to more proportional results. You don't need to know all the details today. The important point is that the different elections can use different systems. To make this more real, let me show you a couple of examples. Firstly, here's a ballot paper used in the Member of UK Youth Parliament elections held in February 2024. You can see how simple it is. Your name and details, then the candidates section, and one box to mark your choice. And here's an actual UK parliamentary sample ballot paper. As you can see, the design is very similar. Again, you choose only one candidate, and the person with the most votes becomes the MP for that area. These ballot papers look simple, but they're the foundation of how we make our decisions in this country. Every cross on a ballot paper represents someone's voice. Now that we've looked at how elections work, the next question is, how do candidates actually persuade people to vote for them? Well, this is where campaigning comes in. Political parties and candidates use a range of methods to reach voters. Some of the most common include door knocking, speaking to people on their doorsteps. This is where volunteers and candidates from the Labour, Green or Conservative Party, for example, might knock on doors in local areas and explain their policies and answer any questions. Leaflets and posters, sharing key messages in a simple, clear way. You might have seen posters with slogans like "Get Brexit Done" or leaflets summarising party policies in your local postbox. Public events and visits. Meeting people face to face. Candidates often visit busy public places, such as markets and high streets. This method often includes an organised event known as the hustings, held in community centres. Another example, social media. Especially important for young people because that's where many of us get our information. Parties post on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, to share videos, memes or short clips explaining their ideas. And a final example, television. Party political broadcasts. Campaigns use short programmes to reach a wide audience. For example, during general elections, political parties often produce a 5-minute TV broadcast summarising their key messages. For instance, the Conservative Party broadcast Our Plan for Britain in 2019 to explain their priorities to the public. Campaigns often use short, memorable slogans because voters don't always have time to read long policy documents. A good slogan sticks in people's minds and helps them remember a party's message. In the member of UK Youth Parliament elections held in February 2024, I used a mix of these approaches. I produced a campaign video, put posters up in school, and shared updates on social media to explain what I stood for. The aim was simple: make it easy for people to understand what I cared about and how I wanted to represent them. Showing your values is key. Voters want to know what kind of person they're choosing. In the UK, campaigns have strict spending limits. This is to stop elections becoming competitions based purely on who has the most money. Candidates can only spend a certain amount, and everything has to be recorded. Under the Representation of the People Act 1983, candidates in the UK parliamentary elections can only spend a set amount on campaigning in their constituency. For example, in a constituency with up to 10,000 voters, a candidate might spend around £7,150, plus a small amount per additional voter. Political parties also have national spending limits during general elections. All donations over £500 must be declared to ensure transparency. So why does it matter? This prevents wealthier parties or individuals from having an unfair advantage and keeps the focus on policies and ideas rather than money. This is very different from the United States of America, where campaigns can raise and spend huge amounts of money, often running into millions. In the United Kingdom, the focus is meant to be more on ideas and local engagement, not who has the biggest advertising budget. In the 2020 US presidential election, Joe Biden's campaign spent over $1 billion, while Donald Trump's campaign spent almost the same. This money went on TV adverts, social media, rallies, and other outreach. In contrast, in a UK general election, candidates in a typical constituency might spend less than 10 grand, focusing on leaflets, posters, social media posts, and local events. This shows how UK elections are designed to limit the influence of money, so ideas, policies, and personal engagement matter more than who can afford the flashiest adverts. Voting is one of the most direct ways people can make their voices heard. Every vote shows what you want from your representatives, and it shapes the kind of country you live in. When people don't vote, decisions are still made, but without their input. Some people spoil their vote on purpose, for example by marking the ballot incorrectly or writing a message on it. A spoiled vote does not count for any candidate, but it can show that a voter feels that none of the options above represent them, or that they are unhappy with the choices available. Because we use first past the post, sometimes people vote tactically. This means voting for the candidate you think is most likely to beat someone you strongly disagree with. Rather than the person you fully support, it's sometimes called voting for the lesser evil. Tactical voting can influence results, especially in close races. It also shows one of the limitations of first past the post. The winner isn't always a person with the majority of support, just with the most votes. Finally, a campaign's impact can come from a lot of different places. a conversation on the doorstep, a catchy slogan, a well-designed poster, a video shared on social media, friends or family talking and sharing about who they support, local events, debates, or visits by candidates, and even small things like badges, stickers, or online polls. All these small moments combine to shape how people vote, helping voters form opinions and decide which candidates best represent their ideas.
Now it's time to put what we've learned into practice with a mini mock election. Before we start, the lesson video won't pause. Instead, slides will show the passing time, with each slide representing 1 minute. I'll also guide you on when to move on to the next step, so just occasionally glance at the slide and follow along. Step 1. Forming parties, which will last 3.5 minutes. In your class, you will be divided into student parties of equal size. In your groups, come up with a party name, a short statement about what your party stands for. Keep it simple. Focus on 1 or 2 main ideas. Keep working on your ideas until I tell you it's time to move on. You may begin. Stay focused. It is now time for step 2, party speeches, which will last for 3.5 minutes. You have 30 seconds to choose a speaker. Each party speaker will come to the front and give a short speech, about 30 to 45 seconds long at most. You don't need to prepare, just speak from the top of your head, explaining who your party is, what your party believes in, why people should vote for you. Later, you will vote for your preferred candidate, so listen carefully. You will not be able to vote for yourself. It won't be long till we move on again, so keep your speeches clear and focused. It's now time to cast your votes, and this will take about 1 minute. Your teacher will state the party name and the candidate for each group. You must raise your hand for the candidate you think should win. Your teacher will count the tally. Remember, you cannot vote for your own group's representative. This helps keep it fair. Every vote counts, just like in a real election. Once the votes are counted, we'll see which party wins under the first past the post system.
Now we've explored elections and campaigning, it's time to look at another crucial way people influence decisions: debating. So what is a debate, and why is it important? A debate is a structured discussion where people present different viewpoints, listen to others, and then reach a conclusion, usually by voting. Debates are central to democracy because they allow for everyone's voices to be heard, a respectful discussion, even when opinions differ. Better decisions because all sides are considered. In other words, debates give people a voice in shaping policies and decisions, the same reason why voting matters. Examples of debates that affect young people. The Online Safety Bill. This law was debated in Parliament to decide how social media companies should protect children from harmful content and online predators. Some MPs supported it to make the internet safer, while others raised concerns about privacy and freedom of speech, arguing the rules could go too far. Education and school-related laws. MPs regularly debate issues such as school funding, exams, behaviour policies and mental health support. Decisions that directly affect students' daily lives. So why does it all matter? Debates help balance safety, freedom and fairness. They show that laws are not decided by one person, but through discussion, disagreement and compromise. Here's an example from the annual debate sitting of the UK Youth Parliament in November 2025. This is the order paper showing the motions debated and who spoke. It gives you a clear picture of how debates are planned, how speaking time is shared, and how different views are heard in an organised way. Just like in Parliament, speakers take turns, follow rules, and debates often lead to a vote, showing how young people can take part in a decision-making process. Debates follow a specific structure. Firstly, you have the motion, the topic being discussed. For example, this House believes schools should start later in the morning. Then you have the debate. Participants give their arguments for or against the motion. Next, you have the closing statements, a summary of the key points of the discussion. And finally, a vote, where everyone decides the outcome collectively. Here's a clip from my speech on employment at the House of Commons, November 2025. Notice how I consulted with young people by running a survey open to 11 to 19-year-olds in County Durham. I used evidence and statistics, percentages and examples to support my arguments. I presented key issues clearly, such as disability discrimination and lack of local opportunities. I also acknowledged different views, including mixed responses and uncertainty. I then ended with clear solutions, explaining what young people want to see change. This shows the same skills used in Parliament, where MPs consult constituents, use evidence, debate ideas, and make decisions that affect the whole country.
And let's go to the north east, the second row at the very end.
Speaker, my name's Lucas Wainwright. I'm the MYP for County Durham. I recently ran a survey open to 11 to 19-year-olds about access to employment. The results were mixed. 50% said yes, 15% no, and 35% weren't sure. Young people highlighted barriers like discrimination against those with disabilities, fewer opportunities in deprived areas, and some employers not hiring young people. Many are ambitious, but may need to move further afield for their opportunities. Entry-level jobs like retail often pay around £10 an hour, but responses can be so slow. 60% said raising the minimum wage for under 22s would make a difference, supporting families, savings and university costs. To improve employment, young people want more relative work experience, guidance on their CVs, careers, and support for disabilities and opportunities to combine volunteering, part-time jobs and skills development. Young people want fair access to jobs and support to reach their ambitions. Thank you.
Debates in the UK Youth Parliament reflect real-life Parliament in several ways. They allow representation of views, giving everyone from different regions a chance to speak. They rely on respectful and calm discussion, even when people disagree. The Speaker plays a key role in policing the debate, making sure everyone follows the rules, and that the debate stays fair. Learning to debate teaches communication, listening, and persuasion skills, all of which are essential in democracy. Even if you're not in Youth Parliament, there are many ways to influence decisions and make your voice heard. For example, school councils. Help improve your school environment by giving constructive criticism and feedback. Or local youth councils. Contribute to community decisions and initiatives. Or launching campaigns or petitions. Raise awareness about the issues you really care about. And social media. Responsibly share ideas and encourage discussion. All of these methods show how young people have the power to influence change, and that democracy isn't just something that happens in Westminster. It can start right here in your school or community. Becoming an advocate is rewarding because it allows you to see your ideas have impact. You also learn important skills like public speaking, research, teamwork, and persuasion. You can meet new people with similar interests, gain confidence and experience for the future. See that even small actions like a petition or a campaign can influence decisions in your school or community. If you want to make your voice heard in debates or campaigns, writing a speech can be really effective. Remember, start with a clear introduction, who you are and the issue you stand for. Present evidence, facts, statistics, or opinions from people affected. Acknowledge different viewpoints respectfully. End with a strong conclusion. Summarise your main points and what you want to happen. Keep it simple, clear, and focused.
Now that we've explored how debates work and how young people can advocate for change, it's time to put into practice with a mini debate. Remember, the video will keep running and I'll guide you when to move on to the next step. Step 1. Preparation. You will have 4 minutes. Work in pairs or small groups. First, choose a school issue to debate. Some ideas could be longer lunch breaks, more PE lessons, later start times. Once you've chosen your topic, plan a 1-minute speech supporting your position. Think about your main argument. What do you want people to agree with? Supporting points. Why is this idea important or beneficial? A strong ending. Something that makes your point memorable. Remember, debates are about convincing others in a clear and friendly way. Make your speech interesting and don't worry if it's short. 1 minute is enough. You may begin. Teachers, this is a good moment to start choosing 3 students to read their speeches. They will have 1 minute each, and if there's any spare time after, you may pick a couple more students to share theirs. Now, 3 students will present their 1 minute speeches. When giving your speech, speak clearly and confidently. Stay respectful of other viewpoints. Focus on your key points. Don't try to cover too much. When listening to others, pay attention to their arguments. Think about what you agree or disagree with. You might even get ideas for your next debate. After the speeches, you will have a chance to vote for the argument you found most convincing. To make it fair, those who have given speeches and anyone who has worked with them cannot vote for themselves. So listen up. Now there's 1 minute left, so it's time to vote. You will have 1 minute to discuss with your group, and then everyone must vote. Write down the name of the person who read your favourite speech on your sheet. In addition, you will be asked to raise your hand when your chosen candidate's name is read out by your teacher, who will then count the tally. Finally, let us congratulate the successful candidate. Well done, everyone. Activities like this show how debate encourages discussion. Let different viewpoints be heard and demonstrate the power of a clear and respectful argument. Now, I'd like to share an example of a speech I've prepared to give you an idea of what a strong 1-minute speech could look like. As a retired teacher with 40 years experience, I've seen many changes to the education system. I've witnessed the raising of the school leaving age, the move from grammar and secondary moderns to comprehensive schools, and the shift from county-run schools to academies. I also taught at a time when boys and girls were separated for certain subjects. I've seen the introduction of Ofsted, frequent changes to exams, and new courses brought in and other ones removed. My concern is that education changes with each government. I would like to see education separated from party politics, so that schools would have greater stability and continuity for the future.
We've now reached the end of our second lesson. Let's take a few minutes to summarise what we've learned across the series. In Lesson 1, we explored what politics is, how it shapes our everyday lives, and why everyone, including young people, deserve a voice. In Lesson 2, we've gone further. We've seen how elections work and how the different voting systems are used in the UK. We've explored campaigning, from slogans and social media to door knocking and spending rules, and discussed tactical voting. We've looked at debates in both the UK Youth Parliament and Real Parliament, learning how structured discussions help make better decisions. And we've looked at how young people can advocate for change in their schools and communities. The key messages to remember are: political participation matters. Your voice counts. Advocacy comes in many forms, from debating to campaigning to using social media responsibly. Democracy works best when everyone is involved, listens to different views, and acts respectfully.
Hello again, everyone. Before we finish, it's time to set your homework. This will help you explore Parliament in more detail and build on what you've learned so far. Here's what you need to do. There are 4 parts and you should complete all of them. Firstly, you'll complete a reading task. You'll read a short text that explains the roles of key parts of Parliament and the people within it, including the House of Commons, Members of Parliament, the Prime Minister, the Speaker, the House of Lords and the Monarch. Take your time with this, as it will support the rest of the tasks. Secondly, you'll answer a set of multiple choice questions. These questions are there to check your understanding of the reading so you can refer back to the text if you need to. Thirdly, you'll complete a role matching exercise. You'll match each role or institution to its correct responsibilities, helping you see how Parliament works as a system. Finally, you'll complete a short writing task. Write one paragraph answering the question, why my voice matters in politics. This is your chance to reflect on what you've learned and think about how you can take part in the democratic process yourself. This homework is due in your next PSHE lesson or at a time that's convenient for your teacher. Make sure you record it in your planner so that you don't forget. Please remember to complete all 4 parts: the reading, the questions, the matching activity and the writing task. Together, they'll give you a strong understanding of how Parliament works and why every voice matters. Good luck.
Thank you for taking part in today's lesson. Remember, politics isn't just something that happens far away in Westminster. It starts right here with you. It has been a real honour to be commissioned by St Bede's Lanchester to deliver these lesson series. And I really hope that schools across the Bishop Wilkinson Education Trust can prove these useful, and schools beyond. And I also really hope that what you've learned today and in the previous lesson inspires you to get involved and to use your voice. So together, let's make a difference.